Amazing act of kindness, fired for helping a veteran-s dog, then revealed by storming Marines. In the heart of a tight-knit Midwestern town, there was a mechanic named Jack. Known for his easy smile and truckload of kindness, Jack worked diligently, putting in long hours at the local auto shop. But then, disaster struck. The factory that employed too many of his friends shut down, leaving families reeling. Bills began to pile up at his house like a tower of old tires. With his wife's worried brow and his two young kids innocent yet anxious, Jack knew he had to find a way to keep hope alive. When news came that Mr. Thompson, the town's beloved war veteran and character, was hospitalized, Jack's heart ached. Mr. Thompson wasn't just any neighbor, he was a pillar of the community. Unable to bear the thought of Mr. Thompson's faithful service dog, Scout, being left alone and anxious, Jack made a decision that would soon change everything. Each evening after work, he'd visit Scout, providing companionship. The dog's soulful eyes seemed to thank him with every pat and scratch. Little did Jack know, that act of kindness would awaken deep-seated emotions, the spirit of service that shaped his life. Unfortunately, kindness isn't always recognized in business. Jack's boss, a ruthless businessman who saw profit but not people, was furious upon discovering Jack's absences. He stormed into the shop, red-faced and shouting, ending with a swift "You're fired." Jack's heart sank. Walking out, he could already hear the mounting bills whispering fear into his mind. How could he provide for his family now? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Word spread quickly about what happened. From their porches, neighbors spoke in hushed tones, their voices swelling with indignation. They remembered Jack, the tireless worker, the kind-hearted friend. Before long, a meeting was called, and plans for a fundraiser took flight. The park transformed into a buzzing hive of activity as the townsfolk chipped in, gathering donations to support Jack's family, igniting discussions of justice and respect. On the day of the fundraiser, the air thrummed with excitement. Stories flowed like wine, every word underlining Jack's generosity and hard work. Just as the crowd was ready to present Jack's family with the bounty of their love, a group of Marines clad in crisp uniforms surged into the gathering. Attention snapped toward them, the air thick with anticipation. The lead Marine stepped forward, his voice ringing out over the crowd, revealing that Mr. Thompson was not just a veteran but a decorated war hero. Gasps erupted. The proud man who had quietly shaped this community was more than they realized, risking everything for their freedoms. A wave of emotions washed over Jack as he stood there, heart pounding. The weight of his choice to help Mr. Thompson's dog had triggered something monumental, exposing deeper truths about service and community. The townspeople, stirred and united, faced an uncertain future together. Would Jack find a way to rebuild his life? Would this unyielding community offer him more than just the help he needed? As breaths were held and eyes glistened with hope, questions floated like leaves in the breeze, leaving them all waiting for what was next. Jack stood frozen, overwhelmed by the applause that erupted around him. The townsfolk were rising to their feet, clapping and cheering. Each roar of enthusiasm felt like a lifeline thrown his way. Families he'd known for years, friends and neighbors, all standing together in solidarity. It was an incredible sight that wrapped around him like a warm blanket against the chilling reality he faced. "Thank you, son," Mr. Thompson spoke with a voice that carried both warmth and wisdom. He was standing there with Scout at his side, the loyal pup wagging his tail as though he understood the moment's gravity. "You've shown us what it means to be a neighbor, to be a friend. And I'm grateful." Tears threatened to spill from Jack's eyes. He wasn't used to being the center of attention. He was just a regular guy trying to do the right thing. Yet here he was, being honored not only for his kindness but also for igniting a flame of community spirit. The weight of it all was both uplifting and heavy. After the ceremony, as the crowd dispersed, one of his closest friends, Tom, approached him with urgency. "Jack, can we talk?" "Sure, what's up?" Tom pulled him aside, away from the lingering group. "I've got a plan. The town council wants to hire you as a mechanic. They know the shop could use someone like you. They're going to make the official announcement at the town meeting next week." Jack's heart raced. He hadn't even thought about getting back to work so soon. "Are you serious?" "Absolutely. They want someone reliable, someone who believes in this town, and that's you. You can keep the shop running while also starting something new, a community garage. We can bring in apprentices, help kids learn trades. It would be amazing." Hope flooded Jack's chest, just when he thought the darkness might swallow him whole. "I don't know what to say," he managed, his voice barely above a whisper. "You say yes, my friend," Tom grinned, clapping him on the back. "You're going to do great things." As the days rolled into one another, the excitement in town grew. Organizing the fundraiser had re-energized many residents, and conversations buzzed with plans for future community projects. Jack even felt a renewed connection to his wife, who watched him with admiration and relief as he shared his vision for the garage. They laughed, and she prompted him to dream bigger, to include programs that would honor veterans, like Mr. Thompson, but underneath the excitement, a nagging worry lingered. Jack feared he would be putting too much on the line again. What if it failed? What if the pressure of running a new shop became too much, especially after being fired so painfully? As those worries took root, he spent evenings at home staring out at the stars. Each twinkle seemed to echo the hope he felt, but also the uncertainty. "Am I ready for this?" he often asked himself. Then came the day of the town meeting. Jack sat nervously in the front row, heart racing as the council prepared to announce the new mechanic. He could feel the energy in the air shift. Townsfolk exchanged excited glances. A part of him wanted to stand up, to silence that inner voice of doubt. "Jack, are you ready?" Tom whispered, nudging him gently. Jack took a deep breath, remembering Scout's grateful eyes and Mr. Thompson's proud smile. Just as the mayor began to speak, announcing the development of the community garage, a commotion erupted at the back of the hall. A loud gasp, followed by a murmur rippling through the room. "What's happening?" Jack thought, every sense suddenly heightened. His heart pounded as all eyes turned toward the door, and his world spun. Who was entering, and what news were they bringing? The doors swung open, and a figure stepped inside, drenched from the rain outside. The hall fell silent, every eye now locked on the entrance. Jack squinted, trying to make out the person amid the dim light. A tall man with broad shoulders and a serious expression strode forward, rainwater dripping from his forehead. "Excuse me," he called, his voice sharp yet steady. "I'm looking for Jack Thompson." All heads turned toward Jack, who felt the heat rise in his cheeks. Yeah, that's me." The man strode up the aisle, his demeanor serious but determined. As he reached Jack, a spark of recognition flickered. The uniform he wore wasn't just any military garb, it was Marine Corps dress blues. A rush of memories flooded back. Jack knew this man. "Carter." "Yes, sir." "It's good to see you again," he said, extending his hand firmly. Jack shook it, feeling the strength in his grip. "What brings you here?" "I thought you were deployed." Carter nodded, glancing around the room as if weighing the right words. "I just got back, and I had to hear what you did for Mr. Thompson and Scout. You've made a real impact out here." A subtle pride bloomed in Jack's chest, and waves of encouragement from the audience started up again. "That brings me to the reason I'm here," Carter continued, his voice growing more intense. "I'm not just back to talk. I have Marines who want to support your community garage. You provide the space, and we will supply the labor and resources." The audience erupted in murmurs, a mix of surprise and excitement building. Jack felt a rush of gratitude and disbelief wash over him. "I didn't think you could get involved like that, especially with your schedule." Carter laughed softly, shaking his head. "We're always looking for ways to give back. Good soldiers stand by their comrades, veterans and civilians alike. We want to contribute to something that matters." Tom leaned closer, his eyes wide. "Jack, this is huge. You could have a whole crew of Marines helping you start the garage." Jack felt his heart flutter with a combination of hope and anxiety. Could he really pull this off? The idea of working with veterans, passing on skills and lessons learned, filled him with eagerness. But beneath it all lingered his fear of failure. "Everyone deserves a second chance," Carter added, a knowing look on his face. "You stood up for that dog, and now it's time to stand up for your dream." Jack couldn't help but smile, the pieces of an impossible puzzle beginning to fit. Maybe this was the lift he needed. The community had rallied for him once. Why not do it again, and for a cause that could change lives? As applause thundered around him, Jack locked eyes with Carter, an unspoken promise passing between them. This man had faith in him, in their shared mission. Suddenly, the mayor cleared his throat, trying to reclaim the room's attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I may," he said, raising his hands for quiet. The people settled but still buzzed with excitement. Just then, a commotion erupted again at the back of the hall as a group of people burst through the doors, faces painted with urgency. Jack's stomach dropped. What now? As the crowd shifted to see what was happening, his heart raced. What new twist would this evening bring, and how would it shape the path ahead for him and his dreams? The new arrivals pushed their way into the hall, disheveled and breathless. Jack could make out worried faces. They weren't just late, they were panicking. His heart raced as he took in the scene, dread curling in his stomach. He straightened his posture, channeling every ounce of authority he could muster. "Hey, what's going on?" Jack stepped forward, his voice steady despite the anxiety gripping him. One of them, a woman with tear-streaked cheeks, caught her breath before speaking. "It's our friend Sam. He was walking his dog, and something happened. He had an accident. We need help right away." The mayor moved toward them, his expression shifting from confusion to concern. "What kind of accident?" Jack felt the room tense, the atmosphere thickening with worry. Crouching, he met the woman's gaze, searching for any sign of reassurance. "Is he hurt badly?" "Yeah, he fell down the stairs while trying to rescue the dog from getting hit by a car," she explained, panic rising again. "We think he might have broken something. We didn't know where else to go. We heard this meeting was happening. Please, can anyone help? He's all alone." At that moment, Jack's chest tightened. This could be a turning point, not just for him but for so many surrounding him. He glanced at Carter, who stood by with a tightened expression, his marine instincts kicking in. "Tom, grab the first aid kit from the community center. Carter, do you have any supplies in your vehicle?" Jack quickly organized. They needed to act fast. Before he knew it, the crowd surged forward, moving toward the exit. People wanted to help. Jack felt encouraged by their willingness, the energy shifting from focused anticipation to galvanizing action. "Let us go. We need to get to Sam," Jack shouted, leading the charge out the door, Carter at his side. As they sprinted through the torrential rain, Jack's mind buzzed. This wasn't just a tragedy, it was an opportunity to show the community what they were made of. He envisioned the garage, filled with laughter and creativity, where skills were shared to make lives better. This moment could further deepen those ties he so desperately wanted to build. When they arrived at Sam's building, the group scattered into the entrance, hearts hammering. The energy shifted again as they heard Sam's pained groans echoing from the stairwell. Jack rushed up the stairs, his mind racing with lyrics from bygone days, memories intermingling with thoughts of how he could rally these people when the time came. Reaching the top, he found a small crowd gathered around the landing. Sam lay sprawled on the floor, holding his arm close to his body. Jack knelt beside his friend, assessing the situation. "Hey, buddy, I'm here. We're going to help you." Sam tried to smile through the pain but grimaced nonetheless. "I didn't mean to cause all this trouble, it's fine." "You mean too much to us," Jack said, squeezing Sam's shoulder reassuringly. "Just hold on, we'll get you through this." The basement of that building, just like the garage, held potential. The power of people working together for one another surged around him. But with so much intensity and uncertainty, Jack couldn't shake a gnawing feeling that destiny had thrown this into his path for a reason. Just then, the flash of blue lights filled the stairwell as emergency responders arrived. Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him, but as he stood to let them through, another thought struck him. What would happen to Scout and to all the people in need if he couldn't manage to rally support for his vision? "Stay with us, Sam," Jack urged, determination setting in deep as the fire ignited his spirit. The flash of possibilities surged through him with growing intensity, echoing, "This is just the beginning." But amidst the chaos, a new voice erupted from below, demanding attention, a voice that sent a chill down Jack's spine. "What now? Get out of the way!" A voice shouted from the lower landing, sharp and commanding. Jack's heart dropped. The tone was unmistakably that of Officer Mitchell, whose strict demeanor was legendary in their town. Jack turned to see him push his way through the gathering crowd, face set in grim lines that spoke volumes. "Officer, we need to help our friend," one of the onlookers protested, stepping in to block Mitchell's path. "Stand aside. I'm calling the shots here," he barked, the authority in his voice turning the buzz of concern into a hush of confusion. Jack felt a knot of anger tighten in his chest. "Sam needs care. He's hurt," he snapped, stepping forward to confront Mitchell. The officer wasn't just about protocol now, his presence felt like an anchor dragging down the fragile hope lighting up the room. "Listen, this situation could be dangerous," Mitchell replied, folding his arms across his chest. "You don't know what you're dealing with." "Neither do you." Jack shot back, the adrenaline of the moment clouding his usual restraint. "What's dangerous is leaving Sam alone and in pain while we argue." Mitchell's eyes narrowed, considering Jack's words. The observation hung in the air like a live wire, crackling with possibility. Jack could see hesitance flicker on the officer's face, the weight of the gathered crowd pressing around them. They were united in their concern for Sam. It was powerful. Emerging from behind Mitchell, one of the paramedics stepped in closer, carrying tools and a steady gaze. "We'll take it from here, officer," he urged, his tone calm but firm. "We're trained for these scenarios." Mitchell hesitated, then relented, stepping aside with a grunt of irritation. The paramedic moved quickly, kneeling beside Sam and calling out commands to his team, who were already producing equipment from their bags. Jack felt a wave of relief wash over him as they finally began assessing Sam's injuries. "Pressure on the arm, keep it still," the paramedic directed, glancing up at Jack with a nod of assurance. "You did good getting everyone here." For a moment, Jack felt the energy shift again, this time toward a powerful unity. People stood shoulder to shoulder, concern etched on their faces, transformed from panic to a shared purpose. He could sense it, they were moving forward together, but then, as the paramedics tended to Sam, a low murmur of unease rippled through the crowd. Jack turned back towards the doorway and saw more figures stepping into the hall, faces he recognized but wished he didn't. The local press had arrived, cameras in tow, ready to capture the chaos and make headlines that could turn this moment into sensationalism. "Here we go," Jack sighed, exhaling frustration through clenched teeth. The stakes were rising faster than he could manage. "Excuse me," a reporter called out, thrusting a microphone forward. "What's happening here? Is there a connection between the accident and the rescue?" Her eyes glinted with the eagerness for drama. Jack wanted to shout out that this was about Sam, not ratings. But the moment flashed with dread. What stories might they fabricate, especially when half the town was now watching, as cameras turned and whispers crisscrossed like fire. The real question nagged at him: could this be the moment he feared most, an unwelcome twist that could pull the community apart instead of bringing it together? And deep inside, he knew, the true measure of their unity would be tested long before the night was over. Would anyone dare step forward to speak as one? The air felt heavy with a blend of tension and urgency, thick enough to choke any hope trying to make its way to the surface. Jack stood firm, his mind racing as he watched the reporter angle for a sensational angle, her voice dripping with anticipation. In an instant, he decided he wouldn't let that happen. Not now, not ever. The focus needed to stay on Sam. "You can get all the footage you want," Jack called out, projecting his voice above the crowd. "But this isn't about headlines. It's about helping a man who needs us." He felt the impact of his words, the crowd turning towards him with silence and caution. They weren't just passive observers anymore, they were waking up. Officer Mitchell stared at him, eyebrows raised with surprise. All at once, Jack saw a flicker of respect behind the officer's tough exterior. If they were going to protect Sam, the people needed to rally. The paramedics kept working, efficiently moving through their routine, a calming signal in a sea of rising chaos. Jack glanced back at Sam, whose face was pale but resolute. He didn't look away, his determination becoming a lifeline for Jack. If Sam could fight, so could they. As Jack turned back to the crowd, he noticed familiar faces: friends, neighbors, and those he had grown up with. He met eyes with Lucy, who worked at the diner down the street. She was fidgeting with a bracelet, a nervous habit. "Lucy," he called, and she looked up. "We're not just a crowd. We're a community. We can't let fear divide us." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. People nodded, some even clapped, their energy shifting from fear to resolve. Jack stepped off the step he had climbed onto, feeling energized. It was time to channel this momentum, this unity. "Look," Jack said loudly, "we've all been through ups and downs. Some of us lost jobs, others lost loved ones, but it's moments like these that show who we are. Whether it's Sam, your neighbor, or a stranger in need, we have to lift each other up." The warmth of connectedness surged around him, drawing smiles and helping hands. He felt a jolt of courage. This was more than just Sam lying on the floor, this was a reminder of their collective strength. The reporter's camera caught their expressions, framing a moment that mattered. "What are you going to do?" she called back, but her tone was more intrigued now, less combative. Jack inhaled deeply, ready to make one last push. "Help us. Help Sam." He gestured towards the crowd. "Join me." With that unexpected challenge, people surged forward. One by one, they stepped into action. Some ran to grab blankets, while others called for additional help from the local hospitals. Someone even reached over to ease Mitchell aside to offer assistance. But just as the flow of kindness began to blossom, a loud bang erupted from the doorway, startling everyone. The door swung open, and in strode a group of solemn faces, their uniforms crisp against the backdrop of chaos. Marines. Their presence brought an electrifying tension, as murmurs painted the scene with uncertainty again. Jack's heart raced. What were they doing here? Was help finally on the way, or was this another twist in a night that had become anything but ordinary? "Everyone," one of the Marines commanded, eyes scanning the crowd. "We need to secure this area and get the victim immediate care. Who is in charge here?" This was it, their unity challenged again. Jack felt the weight of leadership thrust upon him, but they were all in this together. He stepped forward, heart pounding, ready to transform uncertainty into action as he faced the Marines. Would he pass the test of unity that the night demanded? The answers lay ahead, just out of reach, waiting to unfold. Jack took a deep breath, ready to bridge the gap between the Marines and the community. He kept his voice steady, projecting clarity in the chaos. "I'm in charge," he said, his eyes searching the Marine's face for a sign of understanding. "We're working together to help Sam. What do you need from us?" The Marine in charge, a towering figure with a chiseled jaw and serious eyes, looked at Jack and then at the gathered crowd. The tension crackled like electricity in the air. "We need to clear a path," he said, voice firm but steady. "We can't afford any distractions. Lives are on the line here. You've done well to rally everyone, but we need focused help." Jack felt the weight of those words. Everyone had come together, united in a single mission, but now they were being asked to clear the scene. His heart sank momentarily. How could he help Sam if they were being pushed aside? But then he looked around and saw determination etched on the faces around him. "Listen up, everyone," he shouted. "We have to let the Marines work. Just like we came together for Sam, let us give them space. We're not abandoning him, we're ensuring he gets the best care possible." The crowd absorbed his words. Slowly, they began to shift, creating a makeshift lane for the paramedics and Marines. The murmurs transformed into an evolving chorus of support and understanding, allowing the trained professionals to focus on their task. It was a dance of cooperation, the community stepping back, yet still standing strong together. The Marine's gaze softened just a notch as he saw the unity in action. "Thank you," he said, not an everyday response from someone in his position, but it was a sign that Jack's efforts were having a positive impact. "Stay close. We'll need your help, too, where we can get it." As the team worked on Sam, Jack's fear melted into a quiet acceptance. Each pulse of energy from the crowd carried a sense of shared purpose. Lucy moved closer, clutching her phone, ready to capture the moments that mattered, not for headlines, but to remember the fight they all faced together. The minutes stretched into an eternity, and Jack's mind raced with thoughts, worried glances toward Sam, hopes that pulsated through the gathered community, and an inkling of what they were fighting against. Suddenly, a soft groan broke through the tension as Sam stirred. Jack held his breath, heart pounding in rhythm with the hope spilling into the air. "Stay with us, buddy," he whispered, feeling the collective breath of the crowd tighten as they focused on Sam's recovery. "You're not alone." But just as the relief washed over him, one of the Marines' radios crackled to life, breaking the moment. "We have a situation at the perimeter. Be advised, we need backup. Possible threats approaching." The weight of that warning sunk deep into Jack's stomach as the realization hit him. Their peaceful moment might face another storm. "What do they mean?" A voice broke through his thoughts. It was Lucy, her eyes wide with fear. Jack locked eyes with her, his mind racing. "I don't know. But we're not leaving anyone behind. We have to stay together, no matter what." In that moment, as the Marines organized, he could feel the fragility of their hard-fought unity. Would they falter under this new threat? Or would they stand even stronger, the night still waiting to unveil unexpected struggles and challenges? The atmosphere changed again, shifting from hope to foreboding what would come next. And how could they protect each other amidst the growing shadows? Jack felt the tension creep in, curling around him like mist. The atmosphere had shifted from hopeful anticipation to a palpable unease. He caught the worried expressions of those nearby, their eyes darting to the Marine who held the radio. Was this about to escalate into something far beyond their control? "We need eyes on the perimeter," the Marine said again, his voice cutting through the dark. "Stay vigilant. If you see anything suspicious, report it immediately." Despite the urgency in his voice, Jack noticed a calm determination behind it. This man was trained for crisis, and somehow that steadied Jack's own racing thoughts. That he turned to Lucy, who was standing close, visibly trembling. "Stay next to me," he said firmly. "We can hold the line here. If anything happens, we'll know what to do." Lucy nodded, swallowing hard. What if they come for us?" she whispered, glancing nervously towards the perimeter where shadows flickered. "We'll face it together," Jack assured her, trying to infuse strength into his words. The crowd around them shifted, whispering amongst themselves. Now, it was a chorus of uncertainty rather than solidarity. He could feel the energy turning, and that made his chest tighten. The laughter from a distant memory echoed faintly in his thoughts. Friends gathered around a fire pit, their voices carefree, united in a moment that felt so distant now. The warmth of belonging had been replaced by a chill that seeped into the very bones of this community, now standing in collective apprehension. "Listen," Jack raised his voice again, his tiresome but crucial duty rallying through him once more. "We can't let fear control us. We are here for Sam, and we are here for each other. If something's coming, we stand strong as one, side by side. We don't break." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Jack felt the weight lift just a little. It was the sense of unity that they needed now more than ever. But even as he tried to bolster spirits, the piercing sound of distant engines breaking through the night filled the air. Civilians looked toward the sound, a shared concern blossoming into confusion. "What the heck is that?" someone shouted, frowning in disbelief. "Stay focused." The Marine barked, and Jack watched as his jaw tightened, blue eyes narrowing against the darkness. "We need to know what we're up against." An uneasy silence fell over the crowd as the sound intensified, now mingled with the revving of military vehicles. Jack felt a sudden wave of desperation wash over him. Whoever or whatever was coming, they needed to prepare. He glanced at Lucy, seeing a flicker of resilience in her expression. "Together," she mouthed, and he nodded back. They were in this together, all of them, like a family drawn together by tragedy and hope. Then, without warning, a figure stepped into the light from the vehicles. A soldier emerged, helmet glinting under the streetlight, followed by a group of Marines swiftly following. Jack's heart raced at the sight. Were they reinforcements or the harbingers of something more dangerous? The soldier raised his hand, signaling for silence from the crowd. "Listen up," he shouted, his voice carrying authority. "We're here to assess the situation. There have been reports of activities nearby that could threaten this community. We need to form a secure perimeter." Jack exchanged glances with Lucy and the others. The thrill of community support mingled with the cold dread of the unknown. This was no longer just about Sam, it was about their safety, their very lives. As the Marines moved into action, Jack felt a shiver run down his spine. What kind of threats were close by? And how would they respond? The night was far from over, and as the shadows loomed around them, Jack knew they needed to brace for what would face them next. Would their unity hold against the looming storm that was about to strike? The soldier's voice hung in the air, heavy with command and urgency. The crowd shifted, anxiety rippling through them like a wave. Jack took a deep breath, trying to ground himself. He could feel Lucy's hand clutching his tightly, as if he might vanish into the shadows. "Let us find out what we can do," he said, forcing a sense of purpose into his voice. The Marines moved swiftly, breaking into smaller groups while surveying the area. Jack watched as one of the soldiers approached a man nearby who had been muttering about his cousin who was in the military. They spoke in hushed tones, heads leaning in close, and for a moment, it was like reality paused. Everyone was held in a breath of expectancy. The Marine turned and raised his radio again. "We need backup at the north side." "There's something out there," he said, his brows furrowed. Jack's stomach clenched tighter. What could be out there? Jack pulled Lucy aside, trying to shield her from the growing unease around them. "We need a plan," he said, keeping his voice low. "If they want to protect us but can't be everywhere, we should check the old school gym," Lucy suggested suddenly. Her eyes brightened with determination. "If the power's still off, it'll be dark and they won't see us. But we can make sure everyone's accounted for. Maybe someone's heard something." It was a risk, but Jack nodded in agreement. "All right. Let us rally a few people. If they come for something, we should be ready." They moved through the crowd, pulling together a small group who seemed willing to stand and face the unknown. Each face reflected the myriad emotions they all felt: fear, sadness, but also a glimmer of hope. As they spoke, Jack encouraged them, urging everyone to stay alert but calm. Each word mattered, each reassuring nod a silent promise of solidarity. As they headed toward the gym, the sounds of engines roared louder. Jack glanced over his shoulder, feeling a knot tighten in his chest. The fear in everyone's eyes mirrored his own. "Stay together," he murmured, gripping Lucy's hand tighter again. When they arrived at the school, the double doors were heavy, a physical reminder of everything that weighed on them. The darkness loomed heavy inside, and in that instant, the sense of community felt fragile, almost like glass. Once they stepped inside, voices echoed around them. It felt foreign in the darkened space. "Is anyone inside?" Jack called, hoping his voice didn't betray the tremor within him. Silence answered. Lucy flicked her phone light to illuminate the area. The gym was empty, but the air held a thick tension like something big was about to happen. Old basketball nets hung limply from the ceiling, and the faded lines on the floor told stories of spirited games played long ago. But tonight, it felt like a sepulchre. "Jack?" Lucy's voice quivered as she turned, her beam of light catching something, a flicker of movement in the corner. Jack's heart raced. "Did you see that?" he asked, inching closer. The rest of the group stayed back, unsure. Jack stepped into the shadows, the tension thickening as he pushed forward. And there, hidden in the darkness, he saw it. A dog. A large, shaggy creature hunched low, eyes wide and fearful. "It's just a dog," Jack exhaled, relief flooding through him. But what did this mean? Why was it here alone? As he approached slowly, the dog let out a low growl, unsure of this new presence. "Hey there, buddy," Jack soothed, kneeling down, hand outstretched. But before he could get close, a loud crash resounded outside. The sound sent a shock of panic through the group. "What was that?" someone gasped. Jack's heart dropped. "Everyone, stay close," he shouted, blood pounding in his ears. Outside the gym, shadows danced like ominous ghosts in the growing darkness. They were not alone, and whatever was approaching was tentatively stepping closer. As Jack turned back to his makeshift crew, the implications rushed in, paralyzing him with uncertainty. Was this just the beginning? Where would they draw the line between fear and action? The cries from the chaos outside escalated, wrapping around the gym like an impending storm. Jack's heart raced. "We have to stay together," he shouted, forcing confidence into his voice. "If something's coming, we face it as one." The group made a tight huddle, faces painted with fear but eyes reflecting the light of determination that flickered inside. Lucy squeezed Jack's hand, her grip reassuring but trembling. "What's the game plan?" she asked breathlessly. "We wait until we understand the threat," Jack replied, steel hardening in his spine. "We'll keep the doors closed and listen." The noise outside swelled, echoed footsteps crunching on gravel and voices rising in authority. Sirens wailed in the distance, but in that solemn moment, amid the still air, everything felt eerily quiet. Jack motioned for everyone to stay low, peering out the windows to grasp the situation unfolding in their usually safe community, and then came the sound of voice amplified through a loudspeaker. "This is a police evacuation order. Please remain calm and follow instructions. We have a situation nearby." Jack swore he could feel the breath of the entire town collectively hold. Fear and urgency roared as waves of adrenaline pulsed through him. He glanced at Lucy, whose eyes widened. "They're evacuating us? Why?" Before he could reply, the weight of realization fell heavy on his chest. This was more than chaos, it was a call to action. He turned back to the group. "Okay, listen. This town has rallied before, and we can't let fear divide us now. We need to check on Sam first. If he's still in trouble, we can't abandon him, especially with the emergency team outside." The air hummed with hesitation, but a wave of determination washed over the group as they nodded in agreement. "Let us move." Jack commanded, breaking from the huddle with renewed purpose, leading them toward the back door. As they stepped cautiously into the hallway, the sound of the rain tapping against the roof seemed to drum a rallying beat in their hearts. It matched the thumping of their feet, tightening the bond forged in adversity. Outside, shadows darted across the edges of the blaring lights. Jack led the way toward the squad of first responders, stepping forward to breathe confidence into the atmosphere. "We're here to help," he called, feeling empowered by the weight of his community behind him. One of the paramedics met him, her face strained with stress. "You boys need to get back. There are reports of disturbances." "No. We won't abandon anyone." Jack held his ground, grounding himself in the strength of 1,000 voices that whispered their hopes to him. "Sam's injured and needs assistance." The paramedic glanced behind Jack at his group, eyes filled with a mix of worry and admiration. "Okay, keep it contained, but we need to work fast. Is everyone with you?" "Yes." Jack felt an electric charge of resolve and community spirit enveloping him, bolstering their shared strength. Suddenly a second shadow, taking form near the edge of the light, barreled into view. Jack's heart dropped. It was Scout, Mr. Thompson's loyal dog, bounding toward him with joy in his eyes. "Scout!" Jack laughed, reaching down to scratch the pup behind the ears. The room's tension lightened, bringing a buoyancy in everyone's spirits. "You've come to help us, buddy." Scout wagged his tail, as if knowing he'd helped lift the heaviness around them, but then a loud crash erupted from down the street, forcing a quick dash of adrenaline back into the crowd. The Marine who had been with Jack stepped forward, his eyes fierce. "We need to create a control point. Secure this area. Everyone follow my lead." Jack caught Lucy's determined expression, nodding to her wordlessly. Together, they formed a line shielding the doorway, hearts beating as one. "Let us do this," Jack shouted, channeling the spirit of the loved ones they had around them. United, the community pushed back as one, unwilling to let fear take control. They voiced loud encouragements, reminding each other that they had faced the storm before and risen like a phoenix. "Sam is our friend. We can help him," Jack echoed, shifting confidence into urgency, instilling reminders of their purpose to support each other. And then, lights from police cars blazed bright against the darkened gym windows, flooding them with clarity. The tension shifted momentarily as officers moved into action, sweeping through the area in a coordinated effort. Jack watched as they formed a barricade, protecting Sam as he was transported to a waiting ambulance, but not before solidifying the promise of their collective strength. "Always together," Lucy shouted, and the crowd answered back, "Together." A resounding cheer exploded within the group, electrified by the chaos but propelled by unwavering unity. Hope surged again like the dawn after a long night. Just as the final paramedics loaded Sam into the ambulance, the commanding Marine turned to Jack. "You did good. This town is solidified in strength." "Thank you," Jack replied, emotion thick in his throat. With the fear dispersing, Jack's heart soared. Hope and unity thrummed in the air, blending into the promise of a new tomorrow, a community garage to foster dreams and support each other. That he locked eyes with Lucy one last time before the storm broke, the certainty of their bond pulling them closer together. "We'll face anything together." As tensions eased, a collective breath of relief flowed through them. Jack knew this moment marked a new beginning, one shaped by community, kindness, and the resilience of shared hearts. With the stars beginning to break through the fading clouds overhead, Jack allowed a smile to bloom, for even in the darkest of nights, hope would always find a way to shine through, and as his resolve firmly took root, so did the unshakable faith that they would continue to rise, together, for every storm that came their way. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and keep the momentum going. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending below. Let's lift each other up.